Imagine watching a humanoid robot pick up an egg with its fingertips without crushing it. Now imagine that same robot walking faster, balancing better, moving its neck and arms almost like a person, and then casually breaking into a dance. That sounds like something from a science fiction movie. But this wasn't CGI. Tesla actually showed its Optimus Gen 2 humanoid robot performing these movements in real time. And what's even more surprising is how quickly Tesla got here. Just a couple of years earlier, Optimus was barely able to walk. Today, we're looking at a robot with dramatically improved movement, lighter hardware, faster hands, tactile sensing, and custom-designed actuators and sensors. So what exactly changed between the first Optimus prototypes and Gen 2? And more importantly, does this mean Tesla is getting closer to a future where humanoid robots could actually work alongside humans? Let's break it down. Tesla recently showcased an impressive update to its Optimus humanoid robot program, highlighting the capabilities of the Gen 2 prototype. And at first glance, it might look like just another robot demonstration. But when you slow down and look at what the machine is actually doing, the improvements become much more interesting. Tesla says Gen 2 features a completely updated design compared with its previous iterations. The robot is also significantly lighter. In fact, Tesla reported that Gen 2 is approximately 10 kilograms lighter than the previous version. That's a big deal for a humanoid robot. Think about a human athlete wearing a heavy backpack. Even if that athlete is extremely strong, carrying extra weight makes every movement harder. Walking becomes less efficient. Changing direction becomes slower. Maintaining balance becomes more difficult. The same basic principle applies to robots. Every unnecessary kilogram has to be accelerated, stopped, and controlled. So reducing weight isn't simply about making the robot easier to carry. It can directly improve movement efficiency. Tesla also claims that Optimus Gen 2 has a 30% increase in walking speed compared with its previous iteration. Again, that might not sound revolutionary when you hear the number by itself. But for a humanoid robot, walking is an incredibly complicated process. Humans don't consciously calculate every step. We simply walk. A robot, however, has to constantly determine where its body is, where its feet are, how much force each leg is applying, and how to maintain its center of gravity. And all of this has to happen while the robot is moving. Gen 2 is designed to handle that process with improved balance and control. But perhaps the most fascinating improvement is happening at the hands. Tesla says the robot features faster 11 degree of freedom hands, with tactile sensing across all of its fingers. And Tesla demonstrated those hands by having Optimus carefully handle an egg. Think about how difficult that actually is. An egg is fragile. Apply too much pressure and it breaks. Apply too little and it slips. Your brain and nervous system constantly adjust your grip without you consciously thinking about it. For a robot to perform the same task, it needs incredibly precise control. That's where tactile sensing becomes important. Instead of relying only on cameras, the robot can potentially sense physical interaction through its fingers. It's essentially giving the robot another layer of awareness. Instead of just asking, "What am I seeing?" the robot can begin answering another question, "What am I touching?" And that distinction could become extremely important for real-world robotics. Tesla also revealed that Gen 2 uses custom-designed actuators and sensors. Actuators are basically the components responsible for creating movement. You can think of them as the robot's artificial muscles. If you want a humanoid robot to move naturally, those artificial muscles need to be compact, powerful, responsive, and precise. Tesla also highlighted a 2 degree of freedom actuated neck. That means the robot isn't simply keeping its head fixed in one position. It can make controlled movements that make its behavior look much more natural. And then Tesla ended the demonstration with something that might seem completely unnecessary: the RBUT. There's actually something useful hidden inside that dance. Dancing requires coordination. The robot has to control its legs, hips, torso, arms, and balance simultaneously. It needs to shift its weight without falling. So while the dance itself is obviously meant to be entertaining, it also gives viewers a glimpse into how much Tesla has improved the robot's overall control system. And apparently the demonstration was so smooth that members of the Tesla bot team went online to clarify something important. The footage was real. It wasn't CGI, and it wasn't sped up. The movements were recorded in real time. Obots danced. That clarification tells us something about just how unusual the footage looked. But to really understand the significance, we need to go back to where Optimus started. Tesla officially introduced its humanoid robot concept at AI Day in August 2021. And honestly, The Optimus robot we saw back then looked nothing like today's machine. Tesla had a static model, and instead of an actual walking humanoid robot, the company famously had a person wearing a robot suit dancing on stage. At the time, Optimus was more of a vision than a working product, but Tesla's progress accelerated dramatically. At AI Day 2022, the company demonstrated an early development prototype known as Bumblebee. Bumblebee wasn't particularly graceful. It used many off-the-shelf components and looked more like an engineering experiment than a polished consumer product. But it could walk by itself, and that was the important part. Tesla had moved from a concept to a machine that could physically navigate the world. The company also showed a more advanced prototype featuring Tesla-designed actuators and sensors. This version eventually became known as Gen 1 Optimus. Its movements were smoother, but it still had limitations. Then, by May 2023, Tesla released footage showing Gen 1 Optimus walking independently. That may sound like a small improvement, but for humanoid robotics, walking represents a huge technical challenge. The robot has to maintain balance while constantly changing its support points. Then Tesla pushed the system further. By September 2023, Optimus was shown sorting objects based on color. It was also performing yoga-like movements that required significant balance and coordination. And this is where the story becomes interesting, because we're not simply watching Tesla build a robot that can move. We're watching the company gradually teach a machine how to interact with the physical world. Walking is one problem. Manipulating objects is another. Understanding objects is another. And eventually, combining all of those abilities into one autonomous system becomes the real challenge. That's why Optimus is fundamentally different from a traditional industrial robot. A factory robot is usually designed for a specific task. It might weld the same component thousands of times. It might move an object from point A to point B. It's extremely good at that specific job, but a humanoid robot has a much bigger ambition. The idea is that it could potentially operate in environments designed for humans. Stairs, door handles, shelves, tools, workstations, cars, homes. The physical world was built around the human body. So Tesla's argument is simple. Instead of rebuilding the entire world for robots, build robots that can adapt to the world humans already created. And that's why improvements like lighter weight, faster walking, better balance, and more capable hands matter so much. They're not isolated features. They're pieces of the same puzzle. Now let's talk about where this could eventually lead. The biggest potential use for Optimus may not be entertainment. It may be work. Imagine a factory where humans and humanoid robots operate side by side. A human worker could perform tasks requiring judgment, creativity, or supervision. Meanwhile, Optimus could handle repetitive physical work, moving components, carrying materials, sorting objects, performing repetitive inspections, or working in environments that are uncomfortable or physically demanding. And there's another interesting possibility. Because Optimus has a humanoid shape, Tesla could potentially deploy it into environments that already exist. A human worker can walk through a factory and pick up a box. The robot doesn't necessarily need a completely new building. It could theoretically use the same aisles, shelves, workstations, and tools. That's one of the biggest reasons humanoid robotics has become such a competitive field. Companies aren't just building robots. They're trying to build general-purpose machines. And Tesla has another potential advantage: artificial intelligence. A robot can have amazing hardware, but hardware alone isn't enough. You need software capable of understanding the environment and deciding what to do. Tesla's experience with computer vision, neural networks, autonomous driving, and large-scale AI training could potentially help Optimus. But there's an important reality check here. A robot that can perform a controlled demonstration is not the same thing as a robot that can reliably work 8 hours a day in a real factory. That's the mountain Tesla still has to climb. Real-world environments are messy. Objects aren't always where they're supposed to be. Lighting changes. People walk around. Machines malfunction. Floors can be slippery, and unexpected situations happen constantly. The real test for Optimus isn't whether it can dance. It's whether it can complete useful tasks repeatedly, safely, and economically. So how impressive is Gen 2 compared with where Optimus started? Let's look at the evolution. In 2021, Tesla had a concept and a presentation. In 2022, the company demonstrated a rough prototype capable of walking independently. Then Gen 1 became more capable, with improved movement and Tesla-designed hardware. By 2023, Optimus could walk, sort objects by color, and perform movements requiring balance. And then Gen 2 introduced another major step forward. It's lighter, it walks faster, its balance and control have improved, its neck has additional actuation, and its hands are faster and equipped with tactile sensing. The most important difference isn't necessarily one individual specification. It's the combination. Imagine building a car. A lighter chassis is useful. A more powerful motor is useful. Better tires are useful. Better brakes are useful. But when all of those improvements arrive together, the entire vehicle feels different. Optimus is going through something similar. Every generation gives Tesla more control over the robot's body. And as the hardware improves, the software has more capability to work with. This is also where Tesla's approach could differ from traditional robotics companies. Instead of designing a robot for just one factory task, Tesla appears to be aiming for a general-purpose humanoid platform. If that vision works, the potential market could be enormous. Factories could be one market, warehouses could be another, logistics, construction, dangerous environments, and eventually, perhaps even homes. But we should be careful about making predictions. A smooth demonstration doesn't automatically mean mass production is ready. And a robot that can hold an egg doesn't automatically mean it can cook dinner. Those are completely different levels of capability. The real question is how quickly Tesla can move from impressive demonstrations to dependable, scalable deployment. And that's what makes Optimus Gen 2 so interesting. We're not looking at a finished product. We're looking at a snapshot of a rapidly evolving technology. Just a few years ago, Tesla's humanoid robot was mostly an idea. Today we're watching a machine walk, balance, manipulate delicate objects, sense through its fingers, and move its body with a level of smoothness that surprised even some people inside the robotics community. But the most exciting part may not be what Optimus can do today. It's what these improvements suggest about tomorrow. If Tesla can continue making the robot lighter, faster, more precise, and more intelligent, while also reducing the cost of manufacturing, then humanoid robots could eventually move from science fiction movies into factories, businesses, and perhaps even our homes. But there is still a long road ahead. The real challenge isn't making a robot perform one impressive trick. The real challenge is making it perform thousands of useful tasks reliably, safely, and affordably. And that's the race Tesla is now entering. So what do you think? Would you trust a humanoid robot like Optimus to work alongside you? Or do you think we're still years away from robots becoming genuinely useful in everyday life? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this deep dive into Tesla Optimus, don't forget to hit like, share this video with someone who's fascinated by the future of robotics, and subscribe to the channel for more Tesla, AI, and technology updates. Because the humanoid robot revolution may have started with a man in a robot suit, but the next chapter could be written by machines that can actually walk, think, and work. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.